Okay, welcome back, part 2, to the final segment of At the Helm, episode 9. This one is just going to be rankings. I already gave you all the spiel of how the rankings are going to go, or like how we're going to do that, so I'll just go straight into it. And then after that, it'll be game picks. I already have like 3 games I have on here, and if y'all want to add some picks that you want to talk about too, we can talk about that as well. But to start off the rankings, we're going to go, to explain for the fans, we're going to go 1-1-1 and then talk about it. My number 1 team is Tennessee.
My number 1 team is Georgia.
Georgia.
And I say this, like, we have seen where Georgia has its weaknesses. We've seen Georgia truly struggle. I don't think we've seen Tennessee truly struggle. You can say the Alabama game. That was back and
Florida
forth.
game, honestly. They won by 5 against Florida.
That was a lot of garbage time points. Like, you watched how bad they beat them in the first half. Like, Florida literally started putting up points when Tennessee didn't care. Like, so and then to me, that also proved that Tennessee was able to win in a different way than their offense. Their defense held it together for them because their offense stopped doing what they were supposed to do in that second half. But I will say this: Tennessee has won in multiple different ways. To me, in my opinion, they have not looked out of control at any point during the season. You can say the Pitt game. I would argue go back and watch and see how that first half really went and then what happened in the second half that put Tennessee in control and stuff like that. But, yeah, I don't think – and then Tennessee has played harder opponents, like, and that's really the biggest part of it. They showed a stat up here yesterday during the playoff the committee selection show, and Tennessee's strength of schedule and strength of record is in the top 5 for both. Like, Georgia just hasn't played that hard of a schedule compared to Tennessee so far. They've played Oregon, and that's truly the only team that you can say that would be formidable in terms of what they were at the time. Like, so to me, it's got to be Tennessee. Like, and you guys talk about Georgia has done nothing to lose it, but they haven't done anything to prove that they should be there. The eye test does mean something. Tennessee looks extremely dominant right now.
I'm sorry, beating the number 8 team in the country right now, according to the college football playoff rankings, 49-3 is not enough to really earn that spot.
Tennessee has beat the number 6 team. They also beat LSU, the number 10 team.
But we all agree
they also beat Pitt. It doesn't matter.
Would you say that Oregon is ranked too high at number 8? And I asked that because you said that LSU was ranked too high at number 10 or too low, whatever you want to call it. They're 10. Pitt is out of the top 25 right now. So they've beaten one more team in the top 10. Yes, I will give you that.
And they're overall, just to me, they have looked better than what Georgia has looked overall. Like, they've looked more dominant. Like, and that goes into it. Like, I'm sorry, the eye test is going to be a big thing, and it always has been. I'll let y'all, like, do you have anything else to say about that, Jonathan or Chase?
For Tennessee being 1?
For why you think Georgia's number 1. I want to hear.
Okay. Tennessee didn't win in the fashion Tennessee won. Georgia won in the fashion that Georgia always wins. Georgia's fashion so far against, like, the past couple times, you can say it has been more dominant. Tennessee wins flashy. But if you're looking at a football team, balanced football team with offense and defense, you're going to look at Georgia for that prime example. Tennessee, you can say, hey, their offense, but their defense, no. But if you're looking for a balanced number 1 team, saying that if you're going to look for a dominant team who's well balanced throughout all areas, you're going to look at Georgia. That's why I'm saying.
Yeah. That's my exact point, is that we talk all about Tennessee's offense, to Jonathan's point. we've also talked about how vulnerable their defense is, and Georgia is a more complete team. You say that Georgia has not done enough to earn that spot yet. I disagree. I think they've done a lot more to deserve that spot than Tennessee because they have a more complete team. They've shown they have a more complete team. They've shown that even though they can give up the big play, they can make the adjustments. And that's why I put Georgia number 1.
I'll let y'all stand with that. I'm just going to give that a nice.
Okay.
That's cute, Jeff.
But
that's
number 2, Ohio State. I think, yes, even though I did say that I don't clearly I don't think they're as great as advertised. I think that defense needs to get tested. I haven't seen it yet so far. We all know what their offense can do. I think their offense would be able to do that against multiple teams. I'm not going to lie to you, just based off what I've seen. And Penn State does have a good defense, and they have played some teams with some decent defenses out in the Big Ten. But defensively, I would like to see them get tested. But overall, they have dominated their season as well. The only game they really looked weak in was that Notre Dame game, and that got out of hand in the second half as well, where Ohio State came back and did what they were supposed to. So, to me, the second team is Ohio State. And for the same reason as Tennessee, they've really just like outright beat every single opponent that they've played.
Mm-hmm. My number 2 is Tennessee.
I'm going to stick with Ohio State as well. But to your point about – I just want to make one more point about number 1 that I didn't get to mention. Georgia has beaten one team by less than double digits, just one in their undefeated season. But I do have I have Ohio State at number 2. Same reason that Justin said. They haven't looked dominant in all of their games, but they've taken care of business. Even last week against Penn State, it was a 2-touchdown victory in a game that they didn't look particularly great in. I think they need to focus or work on running the ball a little bit better. We know what C.J. Stroud can do. We know they have a strong offensive line. We know their defense can do enough. But can they run the ball in the big game? That's what's going to be Ohio State's biggest question going forward.
I can agree with that. They will need their running game when it comes down the line. I think C.J. Stroud can pull them out of that, but yeah, I think that will also be important. What did you have to say, Jonathan? I forgot. You put Tennessee at 2. Yeah.
I put Tennessee because I trust Tennessee more than Ohio State right now. I trust Tennessee's offense more than Ohio State's offense.
If they were to play right now, like today, you would pick Tennessee?
Yes, 100%.
If they were to play right now, what do you think, Chase?
If they were to play right now, I mean, I chose Ohio State at 2, so I would probably choose Ohio State.
Okay.
On a neutral field.
Yeah. I thought about neutral, and I thought Tennessee.
I think you're kind of crazy for that, Jonathan. But I will say this.
Slightly.
Yeah.
I think it's slightly.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's not like a big difference between the teams.
Not a huge difference, but I do think that, I don't know, like, Hendon Hooker's cool, and he's great.
Oh,
Stroud, though.
Before the season, you know who Hendon Hooker was. You called him fraud.
I did. I would say that's the coldest take I've ever done. I literally came up here and I was like, who is Hendon Hooker? I don't care. Like, I literally said something about him being 25 and old, but like.
Well, I mean, we all have cold.
Yeah.
We all have cold takes.
Yeah, that was the worst one I've had for sure. Undoubted. After that, number 3, UGA. I would say they've been the third most dominant team in what they've done. They've been able to put up 40 and 50 points in a lot of their games. We've seen them struggle more than Tennessee and Ohio State, in my opinion. They've played a harder schedule than Ohio State. I'll give them that. But Ohio State has outright beat every single team, which has put them above them. Like, they've taken, even in the games, even though they played a schedule that's easier, they're beating all these teams by 2 and 3 possessions, which makes sense because of who they're playing. Like, they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Now, if they were only winning by 1 possession in some of those games, I'd call them Clemson, and I would put them down there with Clemson because their schedule is not great. But because of that, Ohio State is above, Georgia number 3.
Okay, I have a question. You said Ohio State has been more dominant. In what ways they have been more dominant than Georgia?
I mean, just go look at their schedule, bro. Go look at what they've done in all their games. Like, what do you mean? Like, passing-wise, I can tell you right now, they've been better. They've been more dominant than Georgia. I have not seen a time where their passing game hasn't looked good. Even their run game, at times, you could say, has looked better than Georgia's before these last few weeks, where Georgia's deep run game started to really piece it together and start the correct running backs. So,
okay. First off, Georgia's pass game was dominant the first game of the year. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Okay. It was pretty dominant. We didn't have to run the ball. After the first game, we saw Stinson for Heisman everywhere. Let's not forget that.
But I tried to tell you I was crazy, but
okay, it was not crazy at the time. Please, Stetson, cease it.
I mean, at the time, but I tried to tell y'all what Stetson was, and that was not real.
That's cute, Stetson.
Not a thing.
But anyways, what in what form or what way Ohio State, like, is Ohio State more dominant offensively? Is Ohio State more dominant defensively for them to be ranked over Georgia? I'm just asking.
Offensively, yes. Like, yes. They have C.J. Stroud. Like, that's like, is the same thing I said with Hendon Hooker. Like, the quarterback means a lot. That's the reason that a lot of these teams are top teams. Like, they have C.J. Stroud. So, yes, offensively, easily. Like,
okay. That's not crazy. All right. Okay. I just want to be inside your head. I want to think like you for a minute.
Okay. Man wanted to see logic for a second. You know?
All I'm hearing is rat poison.
Maybe.
All I'm hearing is exactly what I want to hear going into Saturday. Tennessee's my number 3 team. Tennessee is my number 3 team. I think I've said enough.
We can understand why Tennessee is your number 3 team. Based off what you said whenever I said Tennessee was number 1. What do you think, Jonathan?
Ohio State's my number 3. It's literally Georgia, Tennessee, Ohio State right now. Good news.
Number 1 hater here.
Okay, let's go.
Number 4. I'm going to go with, I'm sorry. I'll be biased. Alabama. There's not a single chance that you can tell me today that if Alabama played Michigan or Clemson, that they would be losing. I don't care. Taylor came on to Twitter talking all this crap. I didn't even respond to that because I was like, you're crazy. There's no way that you can sit here and say that. Michigan's only offense is running the ball. If you stop the run, which go look at Bama's defense, we have stopped the run in every single game, including the Tennessee game, where all they did was pass against us. You're good. Like, our run defense is pretty solid. Like, I think it honestly gets kind of slept on. Michigan, that's all they have. J.J. McCarthy is okay. He's not good enough to beat out Bryce Young in a battle where Alabama can go out there and put up 40-50 because we know Michigan's defense is not that great either. Michigan's defense is what wins them games, I'll say that, the defense and then running the ball, but is not good enough to slow down Bryce Young and the rest of that offense. I won't sit here and believe that. And then Clemson,
it
man.
Sounds like, well, can you, I'm sorry. It sounds like you're talking about, because I have Michigan number 4, but I'll go ahead and say what I'm about to say. You're telling me why Michigan's not a top 4 team. Tell me why Alabama is the 4th best team.
Because of what I just told you. I don't think that they're not winning against Alabama today. That makes them not a better team than Michigan. I mean, than Alabama.
But that's not telling me why Alabama is. Okay.
Like, and then also this. I said this yesterday on the podcast. Take away 17 penalties in a muffed punt, which was the absolute worst play I have seen in Alabama history, other than maybe the kick 6 and the pick against Ole Miss that ended up losing us a game where it bounced off of a helmet. Take away that play, and then take away 17 penalties. Alabama beats what is now ranked the number 1 team in the country. We lost by 3. Everyone wants to write Alabama off like they went out there and got whooped. We lost by 3, and it took 17 penalties in a punt play. That is the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, it's not like Alabama is just so terrible because they got beat by Tennessee. They got beat by the number 1 team in the country right now. I don't know what else to tell people.
They're also 2 plays
that is what
away
makes
from
Michigan better than
other games.
Who is Michigan?
2 plays away from losing to Texas and to Texas A&M. One team is a 3-loss team. One team is a 5-loss team.
A&M, we can sit here right now. The committee's seen it. You've seen it. Bryce Young in that game. That game's not close. I don't want to hear it for that game. I'll give you Texas. They surprised us. They snuck up. We found a way to win. I don't have any excuse for that. Michigan has struggled in some of their games as well. There's nothing that puts Michigan above Alabama in what they've done this year. Tell me right now, you think Michigan will beat Alabama?
Yes.
You're out of your minds. You're getting clipped. That's crazy. Like, that's not true. That's not true. We saw what Michigan did last year in the playoff against Georgia. They're not real. This is the same team. This is the same exact team. They have not changed anything. If anything, they've lost players. I'm like, you're just saying that for reaction. I'm not even listening to this man. Alabama, number 4. And then when I get to Clemson, I already mentioned what Clemson's 3 best wins just got absolutely dismantled in all the same weekends, which is hilarious to me. 2 of them got beat by 20 by teams that are not as good as them, quote unquote. And then one of them barely won by 1 point against a team that's nowhere close as good as them, quote unquote. So Clemson's not real. They don't even know what they're doing with their quarterback right now. They just benched DJ, even though I don't think it's a question whether or not who's starting in that room, because if you watch that game and what happened after they benched DJ, you would understand that. But I will say that I do think it's hilarious that they're still having problems with that. So there's no way that you can put Clemson or Michigan above Bama. Bama is one of the best 4 teams in the country. 17 penalties and a muffed punt, and it was only a 3-point game against the number 1 team in the country. So no.
And if George, I don't understand. Look, whatever. I'm not going to change your opinion, so I won't say anything. But I will say that Michigan is taking care of business against their schedule. There's really been no games for Michigan this year that I can think of that I was nervous they were going to lose. I mean, I'm never really nervous about Alabama because I like it when they lose, but I just there's not like a play for Michigan where it's like, oh, a few plays here and there and they lose this game. It's like Michigan has gone through and taken care of business. Can't really say that about Alabama. There's been some drama. They were exploited for Tennessee. They've always been a highly penalized team. They're going to continue to be a highly penalized team. And yeah, I think that Michigan would beat Alabama if they played on a neutral field today. Did you watch the
Michigan-Maryland game? I don't know where you're getting Alabama's always been a highly penalized team. That's really just this season. Tua's little brother, Talia, was out there picking them apart until he got hurt. They lost by 7. It was 1 touchdown. Like, Maryland would have definitely beat Michigan in that game with Talia didn't get hurt. The same thing you can say for Texas and Quinn Ewers. Michigan went out there and let Iowa score points, 14 points, before Michigan put anything on the board. They did the same thing with Penn State. Like, they picked up after and made the adjustments. But both of those games going into, I think, half for both of them was not, it was not like, they were having a great time out there.
Chase saying Michigan could beat Bama this year, it's not happening. Michigan's not ready for SEC football at all. They're too soft. They're just too soft to me.
Like, that's crazy.
Like physically, sure, we can line them up and say they can do this, but it's mental. I think they're mentally soft. So that's why I'm saying that. But I mean, it's not crazy to say that. But nah, it is crazy to say that. I'm not gonna lie.
It's crazy to say that. Like, there's no way you think Michigan's beating Alabama if they play today. Like,
but
I went into week 2 thinking, wow, Alabama is going to pick Texas apart. They have no reason to be excited about this game.
I didn't think that
and then,
too.
Boom, 2019. I went into the Texas A&M game and I thought, wow, even with Bryce Young gone, they should take care of business because Texas A&M is the same team that lost to App State.
I won't lie. I knew that A&M game was going to be
one play away.
I said this.
I think that I don't think that Bama is as dominant and is a sure win this year like they were every other, like in the dynasty.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think the dynasty's over. I've talked about this before. I don't know how you go to 3 or 4 of the last 5 championships and then win 2 of them and then not be in the dynasty. I mean, you take away 2021, we were in it in 2020. We missed 2019 because Joe Burrow. We were in it in 2018. We were in it in 2017. That's 3 of the last 5 years, and 2 of those were won. So I have no idea how in the world you can say a dynasty's over when you look at the past 5 years and who's been the most dominant within those playoffs. But I will say this, that there's just like to me, yes, Alabama went into that week thinking that they were going to demolish Texas. We all thought that. I thought that as well. It surprised me to see the defense struggle the way they did. I didn't think Georgia was going to go into a week against Missouri and struggle the way they did. Teams have their games like this. It's the fact that they pull it out is why they're top teams. Like,
you're right, Justin. Every team has their little we're just gonna beat them off talent game, and that's just not how it works in today's age. But my number 4 team is TCU. It's not crazy, Justin. It's not crazy.
It's only not crazy because they're undefeated. I think.
Yeah, that's the only reason I'm putting them at
You're
4.
a huge fan of the AP poll. I see now.
What? You're so
you know
weird.
how the AP poll goes. As long as you don't have a loss, you're up top.
You're so weird.
As long as you're undefeated, no matter who you've played, it could be absolutely nobody. But you're up top there.
They played people. They did. They played a respectable Kansas. Can I say Kansas? Bro, stop laughing. Kansas has been respectable. Oklahoma State, they okay. Kansas State, they beat them by 10 points. That's 3 teams. I think their offense is top 3 in the nation. And I look at them as Tennessee, but with a little bit better defense.
Who? TCU?
Yes. TCU has a little bit better defense.
So you think Tennessee would lose to TCU right now if they play?
It'll be a shootout. I couldn't tell you who will win.
I actually can respect that. That's not crazy. Some of the other stuff you said, that's crazy. But that's who I had. That's what we all said our number 4s now. I said Bama. He said what? He said Michigan. You said TCU.
Yeah.
Number 5. Number 5. I have Michigan. They're still in the top 6. I would argue with putting TCU in that 6 spot more than I would argue putting them in that 5 spot. I would like to see a game of them against Michigan. I think that it would be a battle of styles, of who can impose their style of football upon the other one. But right now, I would pick Michigan. Michigan has been solid throughout their schedule. We've seen times where they haven't looked great. We've seen times where they do look great. Blake Corum is truly a Heisman candidate. It's very slept on how much he does for that team. He is just like some of these other players. They're the entire team. I guess Chase's internet cut out. He was telling me his Wi-Fi was having problems. But, we'll carry on with the rest of this. But thank you, Chase, for tuning in and being here with us. Hopefully he can join back before this ends. All we're going to do is give our last rankings and our game picks. But, number 5. Number 5 is Michigan. Number 6 is Clemson.
My 5 is Bama. My 6 is Michigan.
Okay.
I just don't respect Michigan as much as people respect them. Mm-mm. I think they're fraudulent. Like Blake Corum, cool, great, but tell me how JJ McCarthy is better than all those quarterbacks in front of him.
Oh yay! Thanks, going back. But yeah, I agree. JJ McCarthy is not better than a single one of the quarterbacks that is on the list in front of them, of anyone you named or I named, honestly. So yeah, we'll wait for it. We'll see if Chase can join here, but until then, we're gonna move on.
Back on.
Okay, yay. Okay, bet. So we just gave our number 5 and our number 6 in the ranking. I said Michigan, Clemson. He said TCU, Michigan.
Okay. I will say my number 5 is Alabama, just outside. And I'll say that my number 6 is Clemson. Look, I don't know. I think with Alabama, I think that they're still beatable. This is not a dominant team, and but I think they're right outside the top 5. I don't think that TCU really matches up with either one of those teams, and that's why I have and I don't know. Clemson. I just think that if you put them head to head, I would put Alabama.
Absolutely. If you put them head to head, I'm taking Alabama over. I already told you, Clemson and Michigan, like both those teams. Offensively, they're just not matching up, and we've talked about this. Offense wins championships. It does this year, and it has for the last 4 or 5 years. So, and who do you have at 6?
Oh, 6, I had Clemson.
Okay. So, yeah.
I think they're better than TCU.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't necessarily think they're just
I don't really have a lot to say about
TCU.
these teams. I'll be honest.
I get that.
I'll be honest, I haven't watched a lot of TCU coming into the show, but I just think that they are kind of too good to be true right now. Being 8-0 at the moment, I just think that they're going to slip up at some point. You look at their schedule the rest of the way. Yes, they've had some pretty big wins. I think they go to Austin next Saturday. I think that could be a loss. And then Baylor the 19th. Baylor obviously is unranked right now, but they've had some pretty big wins as well. So I think that TCU could slip up. I just think they have a little bit more to prove. And so I will give the slight edge to Clemson.
That's not crazy. I do think that it's hard to say whether or not TCU or Clemson is a better team, but I do trust Dabo Swinney to an extent. He is a coach that knows how to win football games in multiple different ways that they've done this season. So I have to give him the credit that I think he would outcoach TCU. So that's it for rankings. Into our game picks here. We already gave the Georgia-Tennessee pick in the last episode, so y'all can go check that out. I don't want to have to mention that again. This week, first one, Bama versus LSU, number 6 versus number 10, according to the college football playoff poll that came out yesterday. And I'm going to pull up the spread right here, but one of y'all can go ahead and let me know who's going to win and what's the score. What?
I want to hear what Chase has to say about this game.
I think that Bama will win this game. This is a night game. Yes, it's in Death Valley, but obviously with LSU, they've been better recently. They had the big win, of course, against Ole Miss a couple weeks ago. But I mean, I think Bryce Young is going to step up big here. I think that LSU has been a lot better with Jaden Daniels as their quarterback. I think he's gotten better as the year has gone on. However, I think that Alabama is better. I think that defensively or on the defensive line, I see a guy like Will Anderson having a big game. I think they can get a couple takeaways from LSU. So I'm going to take Bama in this game.
I agree. The spread is 13.5. Do you think Alabama covers that spread? That's 2 touchdowns.
Slightly under. I'll go slightly under.
Slightly under?
Yeah,
So no.
10. I think 10's a good one.
I said this yesterday as well on
10 to,
podcast. I think it's
10
around
to 12.
10. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be around 10 to 15. I think it's going to be in that range. I have Alabama winning this game as well. I mentioned this yesterday. Alabama loves to do this thing where I used to say this to my dad all the time. It kind of changed over the years when Alabama's style of play changed. They started leaning more on the offense. But I used to say Alabama needs to take that one loss a season. If you go look at most of those seasons that Alabama has won their championship, they took that one loss to a team where they weren't supposed to. And then that's when they got back on track and ran through the rest of the season, whooping teams back to back to back to back. And it wasn't close after that. It's just something about it is like the mentality changes. Saban gets 5 times more intense and it's not fun anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Alabama beat LSU by 21. But I will give LSU their respect, and I will say 10 to 15 is the range I think that Alabama will win by.
Do they cover?
I'll say no. They don't cover. I'll give them 10.
Okay.
But for Bama, I think Bryce Young just has to be Bryce Young. If Bryce Young comes in and he does what he's supposed to do, I think they win by 10. But if he doesn't, I still think Bama wins just off defense because I think they're deep. I think Dallas Turner. I think this is a Dallas Turner game. We heard about Will Anderson. Will Anderson's going to do what Will Anderson does. But Dallas Turner had all the hype from his freshman year saying him and Will Anderson will be a great duo. I haven't seen much from Dallas Turner this season, and I want to see him do what he is capable of, and that's create havoc in the backfield. I haven't seen that from him. I think they can cause LSU. I think they can cause at least 2 fumbles from them since they run the ball so heavily with their quarterback. I think Jaden Daniels can cough it up for them. And one other thing, Brian Kelly's kryptonite is on the other side, and that is Nick Saban. Brian Kelly, he's a good coach. He's a good floor raiser, but a culture setter, I guess. But I just think Saban outcoaches him that day.
Okay. Do they cover? Oh yeah, you already said by 10. Yeah, you said that.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, they don't cover. Next one.
All right, so what's the next game?
Next one is Clemson and Notre Dame. I'm gonna go. I will take Clemson in this. I do think Clemson is on upset watch. Notre Dame has outperformed. They play up and down to their competition if you watch them this season. I think that they could go out there, and if DJ decides to do ooey gooey things instead of ooey ungulate things, it's going to be a bad day for them. So I will say Clemson, but I'm only going to say by 1 touchdown. It's going to be close.
Yeah. I think it relies on. I think Clemson goes however DJ and the defensive line goes. If their defensive line goes and comes out sacks, fiery, on edge, I think Clemson can come out and dominate the game. But Notre Dame is the most wishy-washy team I have ever seen this year. With one game, they'll look like a top 25 team. Another game, they'll look like they should just play in the Mountain West Conference. It's just so confusing to me. But I think this game they show they can compete. But I just think Clemson wins off of Will Shipley shoulders again.
Covers 3.5. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Clemson wins as well. We've seen Notre Dame, like you said, they are 1 week they started out especially poor, and then you think they're getting it together with a win over a team like UNC and BYU. Then they come back the next week, they lose to Stanford, and then last week against Syracuse they looked really good. Yeah. Which Notre Dame team are we going to get? They're obviously at home, but at the end of the day, I think Clemson is the better team, and I think they will do. I think they could win. And what's the cover again?
3.5.
What's the spread?
3.5. Yeah.
I mean, whatever it is, I think they cover.
Okay. So yeah, I give you that. Last one we have here that I put on here was NC State and Wake Forest. NC State ranked number 22. Wake Forest ranked number 21. Wake Forest is a 4-point favorite. NC State's quarterback is still out. I'm pretty sure. Is he coming back this game? Oh, Chase's Wi-Fi again.
I don't know. He's out for the season.
Yeah, so yeah, he's out for the season. So I'm going to give this one to Wake Forest. Wake Forest they do have the money line, like the spread, but the matchup predictor has them losing. So it's kind of like they see him in both ways. So right now I'm going to say Wake Forest wins that. Without NC State, I say Wake Forest actually covers. I'm not going to lie.
So you're taking...
Okay.
Wait.
Okay, go ahead.
You're taking NC State?
Wake Forest.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah, I was saying...
Yeah, you saying Wake Forest covers?
Yeah, Wake Forest covers. Without NC State's quarterback, Wake Forest covers that.
Yeah, Wake Forest covers easily, and I think they will dominate NC State.
You do. Okay. And Chase, I don't know if you can hear us.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it'll necessarily be dominant, but I think that Wake Forest will win. NC State has looked completely different with no Leary as their quarterback, so I think that Wake Forest will win, even though it is in Raleigh. I say Demon Deacons, and they cover.
Awesome. So that's the only picks I have for today, unless y'all want to add your own picks.
What are you guys' Heisman rankings?
Hendon Hooker's number 1, but
okay,
I'll say that. But I was about to say, Chase has to go soon, so we'll let him get out of here.
Yes.
And we'll
go ahead.
Okay.
We'll let this wrap up. Once again, this show will be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube. I'm going to post snippets on TikTok. I got some good clips in here of things that I know for sure I'm going to put on there. But, yeah, I can't wait to have y'all both next time, Jonathan and Chase, maybe after this game, depending on what goes on. So we'll see y'all Another time. Deuce.
All right. See ya.